So now it's July 30th, about 2:30 p.m. And so yeah, this is it's time to have a real discussion and drop the act. I can't go along, crystal clear eyes, crystal storms, crystal bridges, Renee Jimenez. Those are all my YouTubes. You know, I cannot go along with the go along to get along. Don't go against the grain. Uh, Snitches get stitches. Stand your place, know your place philosophies that have been brainwashed and train washed into my people, whether it was my black people after our ancestors were brought over here in chains as slaves. The only group of people, y'all like to talk about statistics, demographics, quote numbers. All of those things can be massaged and manipulated. I know about that. My generation had the last high quality education offered in the public school system here in America, which was a they offer quality public education, for example, in charter schools now, and even in the public schools. When I was, blessed, thank God, the era that I grew up in, born in 1969, so I graduated high school, George Washington High School in 1986. I graduated at the top of my class, thank God, without even trying. I was academically, intellectually gifted with capabilities that far exceeded the circumstances, the extremely tragic, difficult, life-altering, dangerous circumstances that I grew up in my family unit. I grew up in a home of secrets and lies. And there are a lot of homes of secrets and lies, whether it's within my black people, the black American community, whether it's within America itself, whether it's within other different tribal sects that they try to come over here. You promote and sell the image, like an infomercial of America and the American principles that are valued by people struggling all over the world who come here and fight tooth and nail, study very hard and work hard and pay and put their money together to come here to be American, and then come here and try to subvert it from the inside and deny and tear apart everything, the foundation of America. Listen, I see the dichotomy. I'm the spoke in the middle of the wheel between the generations that had a high quality education, and some of us took advantage of it, like myself in the black community, and a lot of people in the black community did not. There are people in my family also, who took advantage and had a high quality education and a lot of success and achievements, and were very talented. And that applies to every race, every religion, every culture, every ethnic group. Every background. There are those who are achievers, high achievers, and value education and value creating a strong, firm foundation based upon God-based principles, spiritual principles for their families, no matter where they are across the globe. And then there are many others who don't and have no value system based upon a strong foundation for their family, for their community, for their country, for their people, for their women, for their children. And that's the bottom line. And as a spoke in the middle of the wheel, thank God I had a high quality education that enabled me to see through the bullshit when people want to pee down your leg with their philosophies, their philosophies that rot their foundation of their unit, their family unit, their personal life, and then try to brainwash and trainwash you to go into their logic free. They have these logic free, reality free, not based in logic, not based in reality, not based in biological principles or natural principles of life cycles. Everything in life has a purpose, a good orderly direction. And when it doesn't, it leads to chaos and dysfunction and eats itself alive, like a snake eating its own tail. The minute a snake starts to eat its own tail, it's doomed, even if it takes just one little nibble. Just like a person, or for example, a person in the middle of the ocean who's dying of thirst. If I was in the ocean dying of thirst, I'd rather strip all my clothes off, except my panties, and as soon as it was raining, take all my clothes and try to use them to gather up as much water from the rain as I could, and then drink it from the clothes. Because the minute you take one sip of that salt water that's all around you, a trillions, uncountable gallons of salt water all around you. You take one sip of it, you do. You take that one nibble as that snake eater on your own tail, you do. Or if you cannibalize your own species, like for example bears, a starving bear who would kill the young to get to the food, you do. And see, if you're based in that holy and spiritual knowledge of your purpose, like mothers, they have that their holy wombs, as a young lady said. I didn't coin that phrase. I have to look it up, but that's the holy vessel for the continuation of life. And if you interrupt that chain in any way, like that snake that eats and takes a nibble off its own tail, or that bear that tries to cannibalize and eat its own young, will kill the cubs to get to the food, the meat, or that human in a boat, like those folks on I Shouldn't Be Alive, who were in the ocean after the boat sank and decided to take out of the ones who were in the boat that was left. They got off the sinking ship and was in a little dinghy. And you take that one sip of that salt water and decide you want to go down that route. You're already you're defeating. You're going to disintegrate, and just like civilizations rise and fall. The minute you do something like that, and you go down that route of cannibalizing your own young, or destroying your own foundation of your family, protecting the young, protecting life, it's inevitable. It will crumble and fall. And thank God I was a spoke in the middle of the wheel to be able to see through all this bullshit, the houses, the secrets and lies, the brainwashing and trainwashing, self-defeating, and completely contradictory principles that have been tried to force upon the majority of the folks, citizens in countries who are struggling, or poor on ghettos like myself, for the benefit of the top 1% or 5%, who are enjoying such a luxurious lifestyle where they don't have to work hard because they have servants, nannies, bodyguards, drivers, assistants, and so on, to lawyers and accountants, so on and so on, to make their lives easy, that they become very soft. They don't realize this. I see their behavior patterns in everything in life. There's definitely a cycle, a circle of life. And when you're confused, you refer to the animal kingdom and to biology, because they have a circle of life too. A mother bear will fight to the death to defend her young and not allow the starving male bear to cannibalize the young, because that's the death sentence for the whole bear species. Or, just like I said, when you decide to take that one sip of salt water, if you're in the ocean, and you're trying to survive, you're doomed. It's all over. You're starting the self-defeating principles that you will cannibalize and collapse your own foundation of your body, and you'll die, and it happens, Or just like if you decide to subjugate and enslave your own people, your civilizations will not rise. Like the white folks figured out a long time ago, when they stopped enslaving their own, and when they started enslaving and taking resources and so on from cultures and civilizations all over the world. But did you notice the whites stopped enslaving their own a long time ago? They figured that out. And instead they said, oh, well, let's go to these uneducated. They took their education. They had a benefit of an insight, a spiritual principle, that if we do this to each other, none of our civilizations will continue to rise. Both of our civilizations will be crumbling forever. As we cannibalize our own people, we come to your countries and enslave yours, and y'all come back for vengeance and enslave ours, and it will be constant war, and there will not be any rising of a civilization. There will be no building. It will only be destruction. And, thank God I had that high quality education and grew up in my family where they tried to cannibalize me. I barely survived growing up in my own family. That's why I cannot stomach that, that mental disconnect, that brainwashing disconnect, that corruption disconnect, that keeping you complacent or keeping you pacified, keeping you entertained, or keeping you always occupied with all of these different options to, entertain yourself or get addicted to things, and then pay this high price that those in top Make sure everybody below, that 99% below, that if we do anything contradictory to law, and just like in the American government, I see both sides. Yes, it is true. This country was based, has a firm foundation based on some of the most spiritual principles and life-affirming principles, the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. It is the greatest structure of a democracy, life-affirming principles ever created by man. But at the same time, it's also self-defeating because they sell that idea of the American way of life and democracy, freedom, but our country's a constitutional republic with laws that have to be followed by not just the 99% below, but the top 1%. And what they do is they have this inversion of principle, responsibility where, with great power comes great responsibility, but they also forget, with great power comes not only great responsibility, but great accountability. And there's never that accountability. It's this inversion, this responsibility pyramid, an inverted pyramid. Imagine a pyramid. The top 1%, they have all the power, the money. They create the laws, and they make the laws and enforce the laws, but they also ignore the laws and refuse to be accountable or pay any penalty for breaking of the very same laws that they enforce upon the 99% below. Instead, the 99% below, who have very little power, very little say-so, or almost no say-so. We're all like one grain of sand on the beach, together, or one drop of water in the ocean. We're powerless, but together we have an incredible titanic tsunami force. And instead, while they're enforcing all these laws upon us, strictly, high accountability, high responsibility, high penalties for the 99% below, who have very small amount of power or responsibility in terms of being able to enact change. They can enact the changes to the laws. The top 1%, the very laws that they ignore and pay little to no penalties for, or sweep under the rug, slow walk cases, criminal cases, lose evidence, laptops, laws. Nobody's paying for crimes. They videotape themselves doing crimes or whatever, and instead they get protected. While they have all the power and all, but they pay no. You have high power and high privilege, but pay very little low amount of accountability, and the accountability is here. Let me issue a statement. While the 99% below, when we're held accountable for breaking of any laws or anything like that, we're very swiftly marched off to jail, which is the only form of slavery still allowed in this country. If you look to the bill that eliminated slavery, you'll notice that it says for everyone except those who have broken crimes and are going to jail. Now, that's not the wording, but look closely and you'll see that's true. If you're in the prison population, you are still able to be treated as a slave. And so, therefore, they enforce these laws very strictly upon the 99% below with no mercy, so they can throw us and our children into jail for the very same crimes they commit, but they won't throw their children in jail or themselves or expose it or face any kind of high level of penalty. That's the inverted pyramid of responsibility and of power and responsibility and accountability. That they're pulling the wool over y'all eyes, keeping y'all distracted with all type of tribal little, divide and conquer strategies to pacify you and treat you like servants and pets like they did to me. But I thank God I saw through it because I love to read. I'm educated, and that's the difference, if you notice, between those across civilizations and across the globe, whether it's now or back in history, because I pay attention to behavior patterns. That's my hobby. That's the difference between those who are subjugated and enslaved and are used and abused across the globe and those who are not. The educated and those who refute. The difference is the education, valuing education and not valuing high quality education and taking full advantage of it and working together, and also refusing to cannibalize or enslave your own, be that self-defeating principle. You know, like the white folks did when they decided not to enslave their own ever again or make war upon it. They make war, but they won't enslave their own. They decided to go and enslave all the other cultures, and somehow their culture is of what? I think their culture. I've watched they studied their behavior pattern. Their culture is a culture of conquering. Yeah, a culture of conquering. Yeah, and subjugating. I don't know what part of their history does not contain them going and conquering and making war upon and cannibalizing and taking and subjugating, taking and enslaving other cultures across the globe, and then calling it their own. Like when they went to Africa and got all those resources, got them drunk, gave them gun, rum, and trade. And the Africans were already in a busy, brisk slave trade, selling their own people to the Arabs. The Arabs were cannibalizing the Africans, enslaving them, which they still do to this day. And the Africans were cannibalizing themselves, like a snake eating its own tail, selling their own people with the huge, biggest resources for financial benefit. And then what happens is those civilizations collapse. You know why? Because once you got that top 1% who's in charge, making all decisions, but they're becoming lazy and soft and used to being taken care of and not having to be responsible to do anything to maintain that vast level of power, wealth, or land, or corporations, whatever they have, they are dependent upon that peasant, slave, servant, worker be of faction, different, social caste. Below the 99% below to keep themselves running, because they can't do it. They become soft, but they don't know. You see, they'll give you just enough education, like George Carlin said, God bless him. They educate them just enough so that they're smart enough to go and vote the way they tell them and work in their businesses, but not enough to question them or have businesses and stuff of their own, question them or get them out of office. So you notice they're willing to do anything you want except, no, we don't want no term limits. What do you mean term limits for Congress? Huh? Don't you know this is rich man's welfare? We get everything for free in here, and then we get to get rich, and we don't have to show y'all our tax returns. We don't want no thing that says we have to, right? Biden's, right? No, we don't. But we do make sure we got an IRS that we need to know everything about your tax returns, because we got to keep our economies running. Our economies depend on you, the consumers. We need your money and your labor, because we can't go to where we gotta. We'll talk about. Listen, you need to take care of your own self, be accountable for your own self, carry your own self, pull yourself up by your bootstraps. While we go all around the world, cannibalizing and enslaving, and making sure we set up systems where we keep that whole class of workers, servants, worker bees, modern day slaves, or the prison population. We got to make sure we keep that full, change the laws, make sure we got to keep those prison populations full, because then they'll be doing the work. They're the only class that can be still treated like slaves and given 25 cents an hour, and we're going to do all the, that's right. And as soon as any civilization becomes dependent on a servant or slave-based economy, it's inevitably bound to collapse. And the white folks figured it out. That's why they stopped enslaving their own and went all across the globe enslaving ours. Then you have our Benedict Arnold folks who work with them like the Africans did, or work with them like my black people over here. You have people who ratted out Malcolm X, ratted out Nat Turner. When they tried to ratted out Harriet Tubman, or helped assassinate Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, when they try to educate, anytime you try to educate or economically sanction them for trying to enforce the system where they keep you oppressed, like the black people, they always try to stop us from having home ownership, land ownership. Look into the history of how many towns, black towns, had home ownership, land ownership, farmers that were taken from them and terrorize them out so that the white folks can come in and buy it dirt cheap, and then talk about, look how hard they got their kids set up for generations, generational wealth. They'll go and take things for resources for generational wealth, and then tell you need to work hard. Go work in our businesses, work hard. One day you'll be where we are. When they got there by enslaving and terrorizing other communities, like my black American people, to get in, and then bring in the new worker bee servants who are uneducated from other countries, all across the globe, from down in South America, from Africa, because they know their place better. They're uneducated, grateful for any crumbs they get at the table. Because now my black people who have had a high quality education start demanding, listen, we want a full fair share. Our towns were terrorized, land taken from us, women raped, taken, reparations denied, generation after generation. Of course there's a responsibility for that bill to be paid for over 400 years of reparations denied that were all promised. That history of making treaties and promises and then going back on them like they did to the Indians. And then they turned around and gave the Indians some kind of benefit. Or like when they stopped slavery, they made sure white folks got compensated, right? They gave reparations to the white folks in Britain and in America for the loss of their financial asset, the slaves. But that financial asset doesn't need to be paid back to equalize and balance the scales of that debt that was never paid generation after generation. Of course it has to be paid. Every succeeding generation has not paid it. It was accountability. And that was acknowledged, and there was a structure made that there had to be a financial benefit given back for all the financial benefits that were taken from the black community. They took the black labor and used it for free as slave labor, got all that benefits, and you know what, you're right, slavery was wrong, and we're going to pay you back so that to help you get back on your feet, and then didn't do it. And now they want to dumb down the educational system and import the new servant class to keep them below, right, to step on the black necks as, we became educated and demanded that there had to be accountability. And as soon as the Martin Luther King and Malcolm X were trying to train our people how to hold the white folks financially responsible for the financial asset they got out of us for 400 years, our people, and economically boycott them and force them. No, we won't work in your businesses. No, we won't patronize your businesses and give you our labor, our respect, and our hard-earned money and work for y'all. And y'all benefit off vastly and do nothing in return except segregate us and abuse us. No, this is what we'll do. We'll take money out your pocket. As soon as they started training them how to do that, that's when they got working with their own people, the Benedict Arnolds, to assassinate them and silence them by any means necessary. Like they did to Martin Luther King and Malcolm X. Now, listen, thank God I had that high quality education. But for those of y'all who didn't and not sure what I'm talking about, don't worry, I'll write about it. But in the meantime, if any of y'all who, had such a problem with me because you've been trained to that slave in the barrel mentality to cannibalize your own and have that inverted pyramid of responsibility that the rich top 1% at the top try to brainwash and train wash you in, where they have high power and high ability, responsibility at the top, but no accountability for it and pay no high penalty. But the 99% below who have little power, little responsibility to be able to change any laws or enact any laws, have high accountability for breaking of those laws. That's the inverted pyramid, of responsibility that the top 1%, those in power. Look. Those who are in power will never willingly give up power to those who they are in power over, to those who they subjugate below them. But they will import the uneducated masses who will be very grateful because they're coming from countries and circumstances where they were even more abused by their leaders and their leadership, their citizens, and come in and brainwash and trainwash them that black people have done nothing, black people are lazy, and this and that, when in fact, if you look in history, they protested when they lost their slaves and were given reparations because they said, like, if, for example, with the slave breeding that they did quite briskly after slavery was banned, they said that it was one of their greatest financial assets. Look into Virginia, one of their greatest exports is tobacco. Back in the times right after slavery was banned, a Virginia slave owner went on record saying how their greatest export for that year was the slaves that they bred. that gave them the greatest financial benefit. It was a huge part of their economy. So in no way will my people ever not a benefit or not an asset. We were. The asset they didn't want to let go and they didn't want us to be free, and they decided, you know what? Let's see if we can find a way to enslave them by keeping them in prison. Like Biden did with the 94 crime bill, and then brainwash you to go into these little tribal factions where you're all fighting each other. The gays against the straights, against the lesbians, against the transgenders, the Christians against the Catholics, the atheists, the Jews. But at the top 1%, do you see them fighting? They're working together while they sell y'all that, religious con job from all the different religions. And I believe in love, God and Allah. I believe in love and respect of all the holy books, the Bible, the Quran, the Torah, and other holy books that I may not have mentioned because I don't know it all. And I believe in respect in the prophets, all of them, Muhammad, Jesus, Moses, Abraham, and others, Buddha, and others that I may have missed. But I, do not fall for that religious con job of, we'll get all of our, y'all get your reward in heaven after you die. Make sure you're good slaves and work hard for our businesses, and y'all get your reward in heaven after you die. But we take and get all our rewards right now. Make sure we keep the laws to keep it structured that way. See? That's what the difference between the educated and the uneducated know. Across the globe, look at the civilizations. It's the educated ones that learn that, no, we must work together to keep our foundations firm. That's life-affirming, spiritual, universal principles, for life. Look at the animal kingdom, The white folks learned that. And then when it subjugated everybody across the globe, cannibalized and took from everybody's cultures, countries, races, and gave y'all back religion, run, guns, trade, and subjugated your minds with religion. There's a difference between religion and spirituality. Spiritual principles keep that foundation firm. Any principles that are based in corruption or self-based, self-motivated opportunism, motive will crumble and destabilize your foundations. And that's when it's not based in nature, it's based in, self-motivated principles. So any of y'all who still continue to have a problem with me about anything, I would advise you, refer you, to come with me next time. Last night around midnight, I went to see Poppy upstairs on the 6th floor. Who lost his legs, who used to be in a wheelchair. Y'all know him. Yeah, because until you don't care about the nonsense y'all do concerning this apartment, it means nothing to me. My identity is not based and structured around something as, superficial as an apartment, a pair of sneakers, a cute outfit, fat butt, or any other tragic things that y'all value. As you cannibalize your own and bite your own tail like a snake, or take that first sip of that salt water that will lead to inevitable destruction. And as a mother, connected, universally connected to the power that God gave me. We all have talents. Not all of us use it. I use mine. I love to read. You'll see across the globe, folks who value education and value keeping their foundations firm, protecting the basic spiritual things like your children. You don't cannibalize your own. You keep them, women and children safe, educate, always, learning, taking the best that you can from your experiences or your culture, your country, what you learn, and learning from the worst things and try to find a way to work together to make it better. Not to constantly separate, tribalize up in different tribes, different languages, different this and that. Don't learn much, be undereducated, and sold that democracy principle. They sell the American principles, American dream, like an infomercial. And then when you get here, they deliver very low quality everything. While telling you, be all you can be, what do you want to be, what you can know, brainwashing and trainwashing. Thank God I didn't fall for that. But if y'all did, you can go with me. I went and delivered a whole lot of gifts to Poppy. Told him I'll be back today. I didn't realize it was so late. His daughter was there. She had to get up at 5 a.m. to go to work. And I was so apologetic, and I was only there for a few minutes because I didn't want to get in the way. She had to get up at 5 a.m. to go to work. She loves me. Poppy do too. And they all do, and I love them too. And so that's why I want y'all to know. Y'all better stop these self-defeating principles, because those are the kind of immigrants that we love and welcome. I would crawl across broken glass for Poppy and his daughter. Would y'all? To welcome an immigrants like that. They're educated, upwardly mobile. They have firm foundation. She was up there making sure her dad was okay when she had to get up at 5 a.m. And I went to make sure he was okay too. Will y'all come too? If not, yeah, okay. We know what kind of foundation and principle y'all working on. Cannibalizing your own and cannibalizing others and, destabilizing your foundation. Either you're agent, a child of the light, build and protect, or you're a child of darkness. Destroy and create chaos. That's the difference between the educated and uneducated all across the globe. Now you know. The white folks do have a lot to answer for. It's true. And there are a lot of things in America that are not perfect, but it's still, the principles is based upon the sound. It's the corruption that needs to be rooted out. The cannibalizing of your own. Now let's see what y'all want to add to the equation as I get ready to reveal all I know about and discovered about the genetic principle that is infecting and poisoning, our planet and our families on a DNA level. Those descendants of the slave breeding programs that the whites happily did after slavery was all over for financial benefit, to keep slavery going in just another form. Isn't that right? Y'all better look up your history, because I already have. I love to read. Bye.